Now we will bring the meeting to order. Do we have any staff or trustee additions or deletions to the agenda?
Staff has no additions or deletions, Mr. Chairman.
Excellent. Move on to adopt our agenda.
So move.
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. We'll move on to our public comments. Ms. Lemley, you've circled one. Do you have any general comments you'd like to make? Or?
Yeah.
Always want to check.
Just to remind you guys, you're an illegally constituted board. And the prior attorney and this attorney should reference that. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Lemley. Any more general comments before we move on? All right. We will move on to approve our consent agenda.
So move.
Second.
The motion and a second to approve the consent agenda. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right. We'll open up move on to new business, review and approval of the 2025 fixed asset inventories. Wait.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, as you and the trustees are aware, we are required once a year to do a physical inventory. That has been complete. There are 2 deletions and 2 additions. They basically deal with the printer and the data card system. And so with those 2 additions and 2 deletions, we are asking that you acknowledge and accept the fiscal year 2025 fixed asset inventory.
All right. Checking for comments before we. All right. Any comments from the board? Fixed asset inventory?
Chair.
Yes, sir. Mr. Beal.
Williams, what would the process be if hopefully everything goes through with Meridian, with the inventory? Does all of this transferred to Meridian? It's whatever Meridian wants. Does some of it get liquidated? How does that process look like?
It's a combination of all of those things. We have basically advised Meridian that what inventory needs to go with the building will remain with the building. So if the agreement is approved, then we would do a walkthrough. We would allow them to tag anything and everything in there they wanted. The remainder of that equipment would be up to you to determine how you wish to dispose of it. Based on the conversations we've had in the past, you've indicated that some of that could possibly be donated, maybe to educational institutions, and some of that could simply be sold. But I expect it's going to be somewhat of a mixed bag as it relates to all of that inventory. But I think the key is Meridian has first rights of refusal.
All right. I can entertain a motion to approve this fixed asset inventory.
Chair, I'll make a motion to approve the updated fixed asset inventory.
Second. I have a motion and a second to approve the fixed asset inventory for 2025. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Passes. Our next item of business, discussion and possible action, the appraisal of the 11.2 acres of vacant land located on the northeast Lake Drive, Lake City, Florida. Mr. Whitfield.
Okay, as directed by the trustees, we did have an appraisal. This is a limited summary appraisal report. We didn't do the full appraisal. We only included the statement of value in the agenda packet, but the statement of value that was provided was $20,000. The trustees have already declared this as a surplus parcel. So I think you have 2 options if you wish to continue to dispose of it. One would simply be to offer it for sale, first come, first serve, for the $20,000, or you could offer it for bid if that is your wish. But I'll be glad to answer any questions you may have, but the appraisal was $20,000.
Okay. Before we do some discussion on this, I know Ms. Lindley, I know that you had some comments on it.
Yes. This parcel is not developable to wetlands. Could someone buy it and use it for stormwater mitigation? If so, we could just give it to the county and they can have some wetlands for storm mitigation purposes. We don't need them. Thank you. Give it to David.
Public comment, Mr. Kraus?
I haven't even looked at this.
Figured as well. Are there any more public comments on the item? Okay. Dale, I'm curious, you say we could do it for bid or we could do first come, first serve? How does that work?
Well, you just offer it for sale. We have a piece of property for sale. You now have it appraised. It's $20,000. And if somebody meets that requested asking price, I think you can sell it. Unless Todd knows different.
I think as long as we got the appraised value, we're on solid ground.
So then, does that mean we have to list it with an agent?
No, I don't think you do. I think you can do it by owner. Can you not, Todd?
Okay.
You could, if you wanted to do it by bids, it'd be a minimum bid of 20,000 and then keep it open for X number of days and highest responsible bidder wins at the end of the, kind of like a bid.
Yeah.
Procurement.
But we would have to take action to offer it for sale. Or let's say that it's for sale, right? But we don't have to go through the process of actually publicly listing it.
In other words, if you're saying do we have to secure a realtor to help us and et cetera, the answer to that's no. You have the right as an entity to sell this and you now have the value. So as long as you're selling it for the value that has been determined to be worth, you can do that.
Okay.
I mean, I think it's only responsible that you advertise it. Let people know that it's available if that's what you so choose.
Yeah.
And as Todd said, if you prefer, you can simply offer it for bid with a minimum bid of $20,000.
Thoughts of the board?
I'm in favor of the bid process. Myself, yeah.
Yeah.
not have they might not have one bid, maybe at least give people opportunity to bid on it.
Keep it open for 30 days and see what happens. I agree.
And that would be advertised.
It would.
How would that be advertised?
Well, our policy requires that we advertise it in the local paper, but then we also use Demand Star and other internet-based ways of getting this out. So whatever those are, I mean, we would do it just like we would any other bid.
Is it like an auction bid type thing where like, I know there's some like government auction sites.
Yeah,
that-
no,
that's not
I'm
that.
trying to avoid.
So they would send in a
Government
sealed bid.
Yeah, that's a whole different set
They
of
would-
problems.
They would send in a
What about
sealed
eBay,
bid.
Dale?
Yeah, let's if we're gonna do it, let's just basically do it as an individual parcel of land that's been declared surplus. We'll get notice out and say we're accepting bids. If you want to give 30 days or whatever, we'll do that. There'll be sealed bids. We'll accept the bids by that date, open them up and see what we have.
And we could put a minimum on it.
I think you
have
I
to.
think we have to, yeah, we can't sell it for less than the appraised value. Is that?
And we'll just state that up front, that it's a minimum bid of $20,000, and then you don't have to worry about any issues with the valuation.
And if we don't get any bids, I assume we could look at donating it,
You could.
whether it be to the state, county, or city.
Correct.
That seems pretty clean.
Need a motion to that effect.
Just made it.
Was that? That was somebody?
I move that we, instruct Mr. Williams to go ahead and advertise it as necessary with, you say for 30 days?
That's trustees, but that was mentioned earlier. If you want to do 30 days, we can do 30 days.
With the minimum set as appraised value.
Second that.
All right, I have a motion and a second, to offer up, the aforementioned 11.2 acres of vacant land for 30 days. I guess that's an open bid. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimous. All right. On to the next item. We're doing discussion only for the 25-26 budget. Mr. Williams.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I know some of you have asked me, and I honestly didn't know how to respond, what we were doing and were there any special things that we needed to do for next year's budget. Just to make sure we all understand, next year's budget would begin October 1st. And I guess where some of this uncertainty comes from is I think we all realize that next year is a transitional year for the authority. None of us know what may happen, but we do know that it's going to be addressed by the legislature. My understanding is they will actually start addressing this in October. And the reason for that is prior to the 26th session, committees start to meet and they try to get a head start on these things. Nobody has a crystal ball. I'm not exactly sure what may or may become of the hospital authority. But the issue for me is okay, what do I need to do and what do I need to advise you, even though we realize this may be an uncertain year coming up. To the best of my understanding, what we need to do is prepare a budget as if we would be operating the hospital authority for another year. Don't worry about what the legislature may do. So what I intend to do is exactly that. Now, what that means to you is we'll have in next year's budget, we will have line items to pay for the construction of the primary care facility. You're going to be discussing as part of your budget workshops, what, if anything, you want to do concerning the request from the county about funding maybe EMS and those things. So you've got things to discuss, and whatever your decisions are, we will place in the budget, and we will go through the usual normal process of budget adoption. Now, the other thing that I am clearly getting direction on is any unfinished business that the authority may have, Tallahassee, would like to see us conclude that. So when I sit down and think about the unfinished business, obviously we have the ongoing negotiations with Meridian, but we have made considerable progress there. I think that's going good. The only other thing that I personally can think of is the issue with the city and the 12 lots, which directly down Franklin Street at Marion. So we still have a misunderstanding there, or let me say it like this, maybe not a misunderstanding, but we have not cleaned that up. It's not cleared up the way it should be. If there are any things other than that, you need to remind me, because I am going to try just as hard as I can to get those resolved where you don't have to deal with any of that. So when the legislature starts deciding what they're going to do whatever that may be. There are no sidebars. There are no things to complicate what have you. We're going to basically be able to, say, here's a clean slate and this is where we're starting. Now, I'm going to work with Todd on those 12 lots. I think all of you understand the history there. If not, I'll be glad to explain it, but we need to get that cleaned up. Those are assets of the authority. And when we say these are the assets of the authority and we're communicating that to others, we need to make sure that what we say is correct and true. We don't need to have an asterisk by them and say disputed. So those are the kinds of things that I think we have to do in the coming months. So if you got any questions about that, I'll be glad to answer them to the best of my ability. If you know of anything else, please let me know, but I went through my notes. I went through old records. To the best of my knowledge, that's really all I can come up with, think of. I think everything else has pretty much been resolved one way or the other. Questions?
Sure.
Mr. Bill.
Florida Gateway College in Columbia County, where are we at with them finishing up transferring the title to those properties?
I have told both entities that as soon as they furnish me a legal description, because they're handling their own legal descriptions, I will get with Todd and Todd will prepare the final deed or he'll prepare the appropriate transfer documents. And we'll get them on the next agenda for approval for you.
And then the only other is more of a statement. And Mr. Powell may need to hear this or tell me that it can't be done. I don't know. But this next budget will start in October. So I'm thinking like maybe a quarter year's worth of money to the building fund, minus whatever's expected for Palms. But then the rest of it, could that be transferred to the patient care fund? Can you go ahead and do that?
Okay, you basically have two, for everyone's benefit, you have two pots of money, and I'll say roughly 10 million in each. One is the patient care fund, which is we consider restricted because that's primarily prior ad valorem taxes that were raised for patient care. You have the operating fund, which is more unrestricted because is primarily the rent that you earned from the hospital, interest earnings, and the lease settlement. And so that fund is clearly unrestricted under the authority of the board. So as part of then I think kind of what you're saying is part of the budget planning. You could assign all or part of that to the patient care fund.
Okay.
It would be difficult to do it the other way, but you're not saying that, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, I think especially if we are winding down as we do, I think any leftover monies should be transferred to the patient care fund. That way we've got an agreement with Palms and whatever other agreements we have. So then whoever ends up getting whatever's left will have pretty clear instructions on what to do with that money.
That restriction should carry forward. It's generally the succeeding entity of the bills that I've seen. It takes both the assets and the liabilities and obligations.
Well, let me just say this. This is just what I'm being told. I think you as a sitting board, are going to be given opportunity to comment on whatever they may be thinking of doing. So if you're thinking about creating more of a fund for future indigent care countywide, and I think you'll get that opportunity to relay that. You know, so,
Or we could just do it.
well, you can just do it, but I don't know that it holds the same weight as if it's in the actual legislative act.
I got you.
Because I think they've pretty much said they will honor anything that you have entered into. But at the same time, I think that's going to have to carry forward and be included in the act. And that's one reason they want all these other things cleaned up. You don't want those to be ongoing issues if there is an issue.
That's all I had.
Any further discussion?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
Mr. Williams. On the lots, the 12 lots, when you and Mr. Kennan discussed that with the city, will you please let the city know that we probably are obligated to owe them for, I was thinking about this Saturday when I was mowing my yard, that we may owe them for like 16 months of maintenance on those 12 lots, mowing them for us. And I don't know when we need to take over, assume the mowing responsibilities again of those lots.
Point taken, and we'll certainly
Yeah.
see what we need to
Just
do.
mention that, and then other than that, that's all I have. And I assume that they are still contemplating wanting to come before your board and talk to us regarding those lots.
We've left that door open, as you well know. We've said if you wish to change the previous agreement in some way, if there's something new you wish to share, if you want to ask that that agreement be reissued or renegotiated, you're free to come and
And the possibility of any other entity that may be interested in it.
sure,
Okay.
absolutely.
Then as far as the county goes, of course, Mr. Kraus is here. I'll probably need to direct the question to him, but I'll direct it to you. Do we know when they plan to have court administration into this building and what they're going to do with you and Miss Markham?
I personally do not have any dates that have been furnished to me. I do know that they've had on numerous occasions various parties in and out of the building looking at how it could best be set up for that intended purpose. So I know they're working on it, but they have not yet said anything about we intend to occupy by this date.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? We'll move on to our unfinished business. For discussion and possible action, the City of Lake City zoning determination. Mr. Cannon, take that away.
Yeah, as kind of the timeline is we had the 164 resolution process. The city passed a resolution. Part of that was contain what we call Exhibit B, which are the additional conditions and terms the city wanted as part of that process. That was provided to Meridian. They gave their response in an email from Mr. Evans, May 12th, I believe. Sent that to Mr. Martin with the city. We received the city's response to that June 2nd of this year. Mr. Martin's response and recommendation, I guess, or this is what the city would contemplate agreeing to, was then provided back to Meridian. I want to thank Mr. Evans and Ms. Cone for meeting a very strict deadlines. I say strict, and short deadline is the better word. Spoke with Mr. Evans on Friday. He was kind enough to talk to me. So we received their response to this afternoon, and that response is essentially a red line, or if you printed it out like my printer did, a blue line. Of our exhibit B to our agreement with Meridian, the agreement for the conveyance of real property. They put in, those terms and conditions to which they could agree to in wording that they could agree to. And so I would then propose to send that first thing in the morning to Mr. Martin and ask him what he would propose as for the process to city getting back to us to say yay or nay. I think the biggest, I didn't have time to compare it to their exhibit B. I think the one total condition left off was one related to requiring mediation if there were third-party disputes. They did not want that part of the contract, but obviously if there's disputes, it'd be handled. If it was city type business, zoning, whatever, that'd be handled between the authority and the city, and any other conditions would be handled between the authority and Meridian. I think the intent of the city, if I understood it, was, if there's some disputes, let's don't go jump right into litigation, which I don't think anybody's gonna do that. If there's a problem or an issue, it'll be discussed much like this process has been discussed. So I would propose sending Meridian's response to Mr. Martin first thing in the morning, and I'll contact him and get some input for how he and the city are gonna handle Meridian's reply.
Before we open it up for discussion, are there any public comments? Make sure. All right. Thoughts on the board?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I want to echo Mr. Kennan's comments. And first of all, thank the city. And I think the best way to sum up the city's last sentence of their letter is the city looks forward to the amicable resolution of this matter. And I really appreciate the city's efforts as well as this board's efforts, and really want to thank the Meridian attorney, Mr. Evans, as well as their board and Ms. Cohen, and working towards this response. I have read the response, even though it was given to us late this afternoon. I understand, I appreciate it, but I did read it, and it looks to me like Meridian is very amenable to a lot of these requests of them. In fact, in my looking at it, they have added 6 new items under Roman numeral 3 of Exhibit B, that being A, B, C, D, G, H, and everything else is the same that we had in our original Exhibit B. And there are now a total of 13 items in here. And again, I'm very pleased with the open communication that we're having on this. And thank you, Mr. Kennan and Mr. Williams, for your efforts on this very much.
I know you
Sure.
got something.
I mean, I agree. I think Meridian's done everything that's been asked of them, and I'm hoping that this will be the last correspondence. I hope that we can move forward with it. And everybody's happy with this. And I thank you, Mr. Kennan. I think it's speedy for attorneys for sure.
Absolutely.
And Mr. Arline was appearing by Zoom tonight.
Oh, yeah, thank you.
Spoke with him. He has been working diligently towards this same type of resolution, and not to speak for him, but I think he's satisfied with the language from the city's response as to the legal non-conforming use language and the way that it was stated in that.
And I think it's been stated before that, Meridian obviously wants to be a partner with, with any agency or government that they work with. I'm not going to speak for them, but they've said it before, so I'm echoing it. But so I mean, I think the one part that was left out that the city had recommended is something that Meridian has vowed to do already. So I think that I'm hopeful that that will be sufficient to the city.
I want to thank Meridian for involuntarily elopement.
Duck it out. So we don't need to do any action. The action is you've already been directed, you're gonna send the correspondence.
Send it to Mr. Martin first thing in the morning.
Okay. We're close. All right. Okay, any further thoughts from the board? Okay. So staff report is in your agendas. Any final board member comments? We'll go around the room, Ms. Chancey. Mr. Kidden,
No, sir.
okay,
Yeah.
all right. We'll adjourn.
No. No, it's supposed to be longer. Okay.